work hard dance.
Defers to Booker for the long range.
P-H-O-E-N-I-X. Phoenix Suns, and you know we up next. Yeah, we working for that championship ring. We the Valley, it ain't nothing but a thing. P-H-O-E-N-I-X. Phoenix Suns, and you know we up next. Yeah, we working for that championship ring. We the Valley, it ain't nothing but a thing.
Booyah.
Welcome, everybody, to the Aussie Suns Fans podcast. I'm your host, Gavin, and we are joined here today by everyone's favourite Aussie in Singapore, Nate. How are you going, brother?
I'm fine. Straight out of bed, straight onto this with you. Nice gloomy day here, raining out, as usual.
Lovely. So you're going to enjoy a nice, comfy Sunday afternoon over there. And
I think I'm going to be doing the same thing you are and watching the AFL at the pub.
Yeah, lovely. That's my plans. I'm going down to the pub to watch the footy, have some dinner with the family, and then we've got a public holiday here in Melbourne tomorrow, so it could be a fairly half-decent night ahead of us. And as you can see, I'm having my warm-ups now. It's been, obviously, you didn't make it last week, mate. You didn't wake up until we'd already going.
Yeah, I saw the message, we'll go at this time, and I realised, that's been and gone.
It's a couple of hours beforehand. But it's been, I don't know whether you had the chance to catch up on the episode, but it was a bit of fun. We got into quite a few conspiracy theories last week. We're going to, Nate, you and I, probably drag it back a little bit to what our normal format is today. But okay. Certainly, if you've got any conspiracy theories you want to throw out at us, we've decided the conspiracy theories are the way to go for the remainder of the year. And for those of you that are in the chat, if you are on Twitter, I'm just going to put the new hashtag up for everybody there. All of your posts on Twitter and everything that you talk about now should be about Coach CP3. Because that's what we're pushing now. We're pushing the agenda for Chris Paul to come in and coach the Phoenix Suns here on the Aussie Suns Fans. So that's
worst idea.
It was a fun week last week. Okay, so since we potted last week, the Suns have played 3 games. We played the Minnesota Timberwolves and lost 116-98. The LA Clippers, where we won 119-117, with the largest comeback in Suns history in the last quarter. And then we tried to replicate that yesterday against the Denver Nuggets, but came up short in overtime, 149-141. How did you see the week, Nate?
Well, the mini game was just ultimately frustrating. It just kind of sucked to watch, and fuck Anthony Edwards. Getting onto the Clippers game, I had all but given up hope, given up enthusiasm, and then that fourth quarter, it was amazing. It felt like I was back being a positive Suns fan, like I was watching the team that I've fallen in love with, and to see that win come out, I was like, thank fuck. But then the Denver game again, like it was so far down for a good portion there, and then it got exciting again right in the fourth. Unbelievable to win with 1.4 on the clock. After Christian Brown hit that 3, I thought, oh, fuck, there goes another one. And then he hits that 3. The inbound to Book swings it down to KD, 1.4 on the clock. It's a 3. We go to overtime and then completely lose it. But it was exciting to see the team actually make 2 comebacks in a row. Even if it didn't result in 2 W's.
And I think that's a good point. This year we've watched this team go down 20, and we've just gotten used to the fact that that's the end of it. There's never any energy. There's never any effort to try and fight back into games. That it just hasn't been there all season. So the positivity out of those last 2 games is not only did they fight back, but there was a bit of spirit about the fight back. Like the guys were up and about, and it looked like Kevin Durant was engaged. Now, I gave Kevin Durant a fair bit of shit on the show last week, but he was engaged in these last 2 games, and it was great to see. I mean, his effort down the stretch. And look, don't get me wrong, the Nuggets game, we ended up throwing that away, but We threw that away with a couple of that included a couple of really questionable decisions. We were 2 up, and Kevin Durant had the ball with his turnaround jump shot, where effectively got tackled by Michael Porter Jr. and there was no call. That would have put us up 4 and probably would have iced the game. That would have been 9 seconds left on the clock, and would have iced the game. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. Getting into overtime was great, but we just weren't there in overtime. And the Nuggets, pretty decent team when they're led by a bloke who has the first ever 30-20-20 game in NBA history.
What a stat. Holy shit.
But we always see those sorts of things against the Suns, don't we? I think we get used to people just coming up with the most ridiculous bullshit, and it's always against the Suns. So at the end of it, pretty disappointing, but there was some bright spots that came out of those games. A re-engaged Kevin Durant was fantastic. Book yesterday was absolutely sensational. It was good to see him generate a bit of spirit back into it. I see we have our mate King Nachos in here just smashing away about Bradley Beal again. Look, Beal's just through it. It's a shame, but the fact of the matter is, let's talk about one of the real bright spots. But it came out of the Clippers game, which was Colin Gillespie. I said last week, and Boyd did not hesitate to rub it in my face this week, straight after the game. I said that Colin Gillespie wasn't as good as Tyus Jones, and that we shouldn't get too excited because he is just a backup point guard. I'm going to reiterate and stick with that. But he came in, he engaged the team, he lit a fire under the asses of that team in the last quarter against the Clippers, and then yesterday barely got on the fucking court. What is going on, Nate?
Look, let's back up on Colin Gillespie for a second. I mean, I would even say you said it many pods ago that we want to see more of this guy on the court and not playing in the G League. He is a quality NBA player. Now, I too would not rate him as a starting point guard or as good as Tyus Jones, but that comes with consistency. Now, granted, Tyus hasn't been that consistent for us this season, but over his NBA career, he has had a high level of consistency, whereas Colin Gillespie hasn't. He's had small bursts of opportunity, and I'd say he is making the absolute fucking most of those bursts. And it couldn't have come at a better friggin' time in that Clippers game. To have someone that's almost last position on your bench basically re-energize an entire team with 3 fucking superstars on it. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and that effort was there, and that's why, look, for Bud, I said, again, one of the things we spoke about last night was whether or not Bud goes around again.
We can't
I know most people are leaning towards the whole we have to get rid of him thing and whatever. But as I said last week, if there's no Kevin Durant, I'd keep Bud on and coaching the team. But there's a level of culpability when you don't put a player like Colin Gillespie in the game for a couple of reasons. Number one, defensively, if he was worried about him defensively, why wasn't he on the floor in the minutes that Russell Westbrook was on the floor? The guy, what Bud's asking for is people to come out, put their best foot forward so that they can challenge for minutes. I don't think that there is any clearer putting your hand up for minutes than what Colin Gillespie gave us in the last quarter against the Clippers. And then he barely touches the floor. There's culpability from the coaching staff in that guy did barely get to see the floor in that Nuggets game.
He did get some time, and he actually looked pretty good. Granted, I'm looking here, it was only 4 minutes, but again, it was the plays that don't hit the stat sheet. Like, you could see him on there, his contribution still in that 4 minutes. I was actually excited to see it. It's like a little Grayson Allen Jr. running around.
But I mean, look, he earned more minutes. He's earned the opportunity to hit it out on the floor and show what else he can do. And yeah, after that Clippers game, I just think there was a fairly significant level of culpability from the coaching staff that they were not putting him on the floor. He only needed 3 minutes a quarter. 12 minutes in the game, and people would have been satisfied enough. I mean, let's not get too ridiculous. I know Suns Twitter after the Clippers game had all but labelled him the new Steve Nash, and he should be straight in the starting lineup for the Denver game. Let's not get too carried away from that side of things, folks. But
there's definitely something to be said for players have a hot game, not a hot week, especially when they come that deep off the bench.
but he just did not get the opportunity at all, and he certainly earned the opportunity from there. So disappointing to not see Gillespie get out there and have the opportunity to impact a little bit more in that Denver game, I thought, especially early when we're getting absolutely fucking belted into oblivion.
The comment you made just earlier about Coach Buds, there was something I saw. I forget where I read it, but it was basically around the comment that Bud's been called out for being difficult. Was that like, you might have more context on it? I forget where I saw it. Basically, it just felt like clickbait trying to throw shit at Bud and blame him for the bad run that we've been on, with a throwaway comment like that he's difficult to deal with, I think was the comment.
Yeah. So the comment came from
go on.
Yeah, the comment came from Gambo that he was difficult to deal with the play group. But again, I think any coach is difficult to deal with when you're not playing well, because the coach's job is to sit there and challenge you. And the problem is that everyone's talking about we need to go into a new coach again. And at what stage does it become the problem of the players? If we keep bringing coaches in who are going to challenge the players, but the players don't like being challenged, I think that's where the issue lies.
I mean, I've got staff and I work in sales. So if the sales aren't coming in, the staff don't like dealing with me because I rain down on them, right? So same issue. We can't have 4 coaches in 4 years. There's no consistency. There's no stability. There's nothing wrong, I don't believe, with Bud as a coach. I think everyone needs to figure it out. There was another comment here that Bud apparently made the comment to Book to rein it in on the court and not be so verbal. It was quite funny because after I heard that comment, I was watching in the Nuggets game. Book went straight at Nick Richards after one fucked up play where the Denver had scored, and you could just see him go straight at Nick Richards and start barking. And I was just hoping the camera would pan to Bud so we could see if he's like covering his face or shaking his head or something, but we didn't see it.
Yeah, we came up with the conspiracy theory on that one last week, and I think the comment was more around how vocal Book is in the timeouts, where he tends to talk over the coaches. Was sort of where it lent, and we sort of came up with the conspiracy last week that KD was still throwing his toys out of the cotton. He'd actually whinged to Bud about how much Book's talking in the timeouts, and we had credentialed media from the Phoenix Suns come into our chat and say yes, that's exactly what happened. But we'll wait and see how that one sort of plays out, because both of them have downplayed it since. So it's I'm not sure how this coaching situation. As you're aware, Nate, I wasn't a fan of Bud coming in as the coach to start with. Once he was on,
you wanted JJ Redick.
I just wanted JJ Redick, and the Lakers are showing now why JJ Redick should have been.
I still can't believe they're sticking on the fucking ladder for the West.
But we are moving on now, and we're going to the next JJ Redick, probably the better JJ Redick in Chris Paul, who's going to come in and coach this team. So
you want to
hashtag coach CP3
and sack Bud
straight into retirement for the Spurs this year, and straight in as head coach. That's write it down now, and don't say I didn't warn you people. Nate, who was your player of the week?
Look, you want to give it to the stars that pulled the games in, that made the big shots. But for me, my highlight was the Colin Gillespie outbreak. Just to see, we during that game, we'd lost faith, we'd lost motivation to even keep barracking for the team. And to see someone come off the bench and do what he did and turn it around, especially someone we picked up from Denver, I thought it was that was a standout moment for me that changed that game, and I think changed that turning point for the week, because we looked different against Denver than we did against Clippers, and it was better, and we still got to that overtime. So I think from my player of the week is from Colin Gillespie's performance being a turning point in the week.
The re-engagement was great from the team. My player of the week is going to be Book, only because I flat out refuse to give it to Kevin Durant until he puts all these games together and actually shows it. He was probably from face value, he was probably our best player over the course of the week, though. So, but I'll give it to Book anyway, because fucking who needs to pull their finger out, Nate?
It's one person in the chat's probably going to love this. Look, I haven't put a lot of thought into this, but since Bradley Beal's gone back to the starting lineup, which I'm okay. We ran our experiment with him off the bench. We weren't getting the results we wanted, so all right, back in the starting lineup. Don't keep playing like you were for the start of the season in that position. You got your spot back. You're back in the starting lineup. You get $50 million. You need to produce a little more than you are. He looks okay. So he looks okay out there. At least he's not injured, but he's not performing like $50 million. And I just think he could pull his finger out and give a little more.
Probably reasonable. I still think that the players in the starting lineup have been shutting our point guards out, but that's fair enough. I see some comments in the chat about Tyus and Grayson. I'm not going to hit up Tyus for pulling his finger out at the moment. I am going to agree with our good mate Vossi here that Grayson Allen probably needs to pull his finger out a little bit. He's just been, for me, Grayson's just been a little bit too laid back in his playing style over the last week or so. Especially for a guy who's an 88, 89% free throw shooter. He's shooting 50% at the free throw line in the last couple of games. He doesn't seem to, he's a layer below what I think Grayson Allen could do from an energy standpoint. So for me, it's Grayson Allen, pull your finger out, mate, and give us back that energy that we like to see from you. The week ahead, Nate, we've got some interesting games with the way that our chances of a potential play-in spot play out.
Righto.
So
Preach.
on Monday we play the Dallas Mavericks. On Tuesday, so back to back, we play the Memphis Grizzlies. On Thursday, we play the Houston Rockets. And on Saturday, we play the Sacramento Kings. Now, in the context of sneaking into a play-in or playing playoffs, this is probably some of the biggest games that we're going to see this season. Now, in the context of this season. So how do you see this? It's a 4-game week before we pot again next Sunday. How do you see this week playing out, Nate?
It's really hard to say because we haven't gone on a winning streak in a while, and it's exactly what we fucking need. I think the Mavs game is extremely winnable. They're undermanned, and we can pick that apart. The Grizzlies, it's definitely a winnable game. They've put it together pretty well lately. Jars a little bit all over the place. So I think you could exploit a couple of weaknesses there and pull that W away if we're playing like the fourth quarter we've seen against the Clippers and the Nuggets. If we can pull out some consistency in a game, I think we definitely have an edge there. But to be honest, the Rockets and Kings, I definitely think it's a bit of a struggle. The Rockets have so much youth and so much attacking power they can throw at you. It's their home court. And the Kings have really put it together lately. So I give us our best chance at 2 wins at the start of the week, and then I really don't know about the back end, to be honest. I would struggle to say we go more than 50% this week. 2 W's, 2 losses.
So we've got Boyd in the chat. Couldn't be bothered jumping on with us, but he's in the chat and can't count, obviously, because I read out 4 games and he only gave me 3. And then he covered that up with 2 additional. So then he went to 5 games instead of 3. Look, this is the, and I'm not even putting that comment up. This is the as I said before, this I think is our biggest week from context of season. I'm going to say we go 3-1. I think we get the Mavs, who are obviously heavily injured at the moment. I think we get the Grizz. We're playing them at home. I don't know. I've just, at this stage, I have a feeling that we might, if we can play with the same spirit we have in those 2 last quarters that we played the last couple of games, but extend that out over a 3 quarters instead of 1, we'll be able to get the Grizz. I think the Rockets will be a really tough game. That one we may drop. We tend to struggle with the length of the Rockets, and I think that'll probably continue there. And then I think we'll get the Kings to finish that off. So if we go 3-1 with them, we're currently 2.5, I think, games behind the Mavericks. We could be back into a play-in type location by the end of the week.
Just so fucking disgusting that this time in the season with this team, we're talking about, will we even make the play-in?
Well, the most disgusting thing is looking at this here is that we're only a game and a half ahead of Portland. Fucking Portland.
I know, fucking Portland.
Jesus Christ, man. That's depressing as hell, isn't it? Oh my God. Okay, Nate, what else popped out this week for you? Steve said 4-0 this week. This is the week, gents. Anyone in the chat, if you have, will probably be a shorter show this week anyway, but anyone in the chat has any questions, ask the Aussies, shoot them in there, although it's mostly Aussies in the chat at the moment. So if you've got any legitimate questions, I know that questions are going to come from Boyd now. I won't be able to ask us either of those questions or any of those questions because he's a massive flog. By the way, I will say before we do any further observations, for our friends up in Queensland, I'm glad that the cyclone wasn't as serious as it potentially was reported. No one suffered any major damages. No one suffered any loss. So really, really happy for everyone. I know Boyd today is supposed to be cleaning up from the storm, but is sitting in our chat for some fucking reason.
He wasn't sure if he'd have power again or not, because I'm still watching the Aussie news over here, and I heard there's like 500,000 people in southeast Queensland without power. So however long that lasts for, I still haven't received any news from about my unit. Hopefully it's all right. I always worry about the glass breaking on the city side of the place. But anyway, I'll probably text the neighbours after this pod. Now you've jogged my memory.
But I believe it wasn't too bad at the end of the day. So we're just happy for everyone up in southeast Queensland, especially all of our fans up there and all of the Suns fans up there. We have quite a number of people up in that region that are part of the Aussie Suns Fans group. So happy that everyone came out of it the other side. Anything else that stood out to you this week, Nate?
If anything that stood out was there were segments where we looked like a team again. At the start of this week, I completely lost fucking interest. I just kept looking at the scores and the way we played and then giving up. And I'm just like, where's the motivation to care? The team doesn't care. The players don't fucking care. Why should I as a fan? And it was just frustrating me. So the start of the week, that's how I felt. Most of the way through the Clippers game, that's how I felt. In the fourth quarter, because I was so down, when the Colin Gillespie spark happened, I was just like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to be a fan again. And then going into the Denver game, again, got that nice little roller coaster of a ride with the depressing end. But I didn't really focus on the Suns this week because I wanted to enjoy it. I'm going to have a really good week at work. Why bring myself back down, you know?
No, that's probably fair. I missed some of the games as well, caught up on them later. I'm still sticking to my philosophy of I'm not looking at the season as a whole when I go in to watch games. I'm just watching the game as they happen. And I can't stop myself from putting myself through the pain. It doesn't matter. I'll just sit there and watch it anyway. I know everyone was sort of turning it off during the Clippers game, but in the Clippers game, they gave me what I needed, which was the whole, see, that's why you don't turn it off. Look what happened.
Yeah.
We're amazing. Fantastic. You would have missed that if you didn't watch that. Look.
You said you're taking a game at a time, right? After the Clippers game, the post-game interview was with Kevin Durant, like the on-court post-game interview. Unbelievable they didn't actually pull Colin Gillespie out and give him his fucking 30 seconds. I could not believe that. But then they asked KD about the playoffs, and he literally blacked it out like, oh, no, we're not thinking about the playoffs. We're taking each game at a time, blah, blah. I gave that speech. But I'm like, you're way too fucking close to not even getting a sniff of the playoffs to say you're not worried about the playoffs. I mean, I think he was in his head, it was too pre-programmed how he was going to respond to actually think how that comes across to fans. Because we're already giving them shit for not looking like they care. And then he goes and says something in an interview that's like, we don't care. But we'll take it a game at a time. I'm like, fuck, motherfucker.
That's his MO though. He really doesn't care what the fans think half the time, which is why he frustrates the living shit out of me repeatedly. But
on that note, and you probably said this last week and you leaned toward the comment, do you want Kevin Durant on this team next year?
No.
You don't?
No, I would trade him for whatever I could get for him, and we did. We had a big chat about it last week.
I'm still on the camp that says let's just fix the way it works. I don't think you can just give one season of Kevin Durant a go and get rid of it.
But it's not one season of Kevin Durant.
One full season.
We're up to the third season of Kevin Durant. It's not working.
All right, I'm a little more optimistic, while still being a pessimistic fucking.
You haven't watched enough games this year. As Boyd said, but he's one of the best to ever do it. Whenever you talk about Kevin Durant, you have to put that disclaimer in. He is one of the best to ever do it. He's just not one of the best to ever do it for Phoenix because it's just not working. That's where we're going to get the assets from. I think that a Booker and Beal backcourt can work. I'm going to die on that hill for the moment. That's where I live. And as far as I'm concerned, bring the assets back in and some potential talent. My comment last week was more around looking at a team like OKC to facilitate a trade and bringing in someone like a Chet Holmgren into the Suns. So it's
help enough to play a game.
Yeah, well, we have that anyway, Nate. So why not do it with someone who's fucking 20 years younger?
Yeah, true.
To try and do it. So, it's a tough situation because there's going to be people on the one side of the KD camp, which is we have to keep him and try to make it work. And then you're going to have people on the other side of the camp. I was always in the let's keep pushing and make it work. The KD side of the camp. Let's keep him, make him work. Do what we need to do, whatever the case may be. But we're at 3 years now.
So I the minute that Butler deal went through with Golden State, I didn't know how I would feel, and then I had this gut-wrenching fucking disappointment when I read the news that he went to Golden State. And ever since then, I just can't help but wonder what our team would look like with Book, Butler, and KD on the court. And I just wanted to see it. And ever since that happened, I haven't been able to look at Bradley Beal the same way because I'm looking at him thinking, now I'm on Team Nacho. What a fucking disappointment.
But again, there's everyone keeps saying that Beal blew the the deal up and blah, 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 blah. We don't know that Bill blew the deal up. It's just Miami didn't want Bill.
Oh, I'm not blaming him necessarily for not making the trade happen. I think, even though all the oral reports was it was just because he wouldn't waive his no trade clause, which makes him a bit of a dick. But again, that's why you've got a contract. I just wanted to see that other team, that team with Butler in it, and see if it changed what we're now hoping comes into fruition.
I would have traded Durant to Golden State and played with Booker and Butler.
Okay. And what the fuck are we doing with these pieces we got for Nurkic, by the way? Okay, Cody's just sitting on the bench doing fucking nothing.
But he's injured.
Still?
Yeah, Cody Martin's got sports.
So we can trade for an injured player, but the Lakers make a trade, and because there's a physical involved,
we traded for an injured player, knowing that he was injured, and accepted the fact that he was injured.
Just seems to me like the Lakers always get away.
That's the one. That's the one, boy. He's got a sports hernia.
Right.
I don't know what a sports hernia is, but he's got one. So, look, to be honest, those two contracts are either to wipe off in the off season. So basically, if over the off season, if we wipe those two contracts, we drop below the second apron.
See,
which provides additional flexibility.
Last 2 seasons, we're just going, yes, fucking Ishbia. We don't care about the aprons. And now it's all we're talking about.
Well, it restricts everything, right? It restricts the type of moves that you can make around when it comes to the apron. So bringing those two contracts in, and as Steve said, it's salary relief. At the end of the season, both those contracts will be gone, and we'll drop below the second apron for the off-season, which means that we can all of a sudden make additional or different types of moves, including stacking contracts in a trade.
That would be nice.
So I think that was more what it was about. It was
another way to just dump Nurk's salary, but also provide flexibility for the Suns in the off season.
So where the off-season opens up a hell of a lot more options when it comes to trades. So effectively what they've done is give themselves off-season flexibility.
Well, I hope that's what they've done. Opens up more options with other teams other than fucking Charlotte.
Yeah, let's hope so. Because I'm kind of sick of taking all Charlotte scraps. But
this is like James Jones has only got one fucking commissioner friend in the NBA and he's in Charlotte.
And the worst thing is, not only are we taking Charlotte's scraps, but their starting five is their scraps, and we're taking their scraps of their scraps off the bench. But anyway, I digress. Hey, Nate.
I would kill everyone in this room for a drop of sweet beer.
So, Homer, please feel free to tell us anything.
Look,
who do you want to have a beer with?
This whole episode for me has been the Colin Gillespie show, so it would be odd if I didn't stick with that train and just say, want to go grab a beer with that bloke. But it's got to be at Marley's. It would have been nice to have a beer with that bloke after the Clippers game, but, since they didn't want to give
what type of bevy are you having with Mr. Gillespie?
Oh, whatever the funkiest thing they got on the tap there is. I once pulled a beer at Marley's. It was a weed-flavored beer. It was the most grotesque fucking beer I've ever had in my life. And I sat there and had to stomach a pint of this shit. So I probably wouldn't do that. But they got some funky stuff there on tap. So sit up at the bar with Colin, pat on the back, pull a pint.
I had one, but I'm going to change it because
you're going to have one with bowl blind.
No, this comment here. Fuck no. This comment here is something that I wrote on Twitter the other day and then pulled back. But I live with this. Anyone who's commentating on Suns games this year and has to sit through this shit week in, week out and try to make it sound interesting. EJ, K-Ray, Bloomer, who's with Bloomer? Tim Kempton. Like, these people that have to sit there and fucking try to make this shit sound interesting, well done to you people. because you are well and truly earning your fucking paycheck this year. So let's all get together. We'll all go to the Ambassador Books Pub, the Ambassador, and we'll have ourselves a what do they call that fucking whiskey mix thing they all drink over there? An old fashioned. We'll all have an old fashioned together.
It's not a whiskey sour. It's an old fashioned bourbon and corn syrup.
Yeah, whatever. That thing. The old fashioned. We'll all go and have an old fashioned at Books Pub, the Ambassador.
Is the one directly opposite the stadium, like the other side of the lights? It's closer than Marley's to the stadium, isn't it?
No, it's closer. It's closer to the practice facility than the stadium.
I'm thinking of a completely different one.
No, it's out about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes from the stadium. So, root, shoot, marry, EJTC or K-Ray.
No, you're not on the show, Boyd. Go away.
Yeah, that's right. If you can't get on here, mate, we're not going to talk about it.
Fuck that guy.
Who made you sit back this week, Nate, and just go, you know what? Fuck that guy.
Anthony Edwards did. Legitimately watching that game and watching his cocky fucking attitude every time he gets fouled and he's like, oh my God, I didn't get a call, and cries about it and chucks a tantrum, gets his texts, gets his suspension, and he comes back crying again. And then he has a good game, he hits his 44 points, and he's just carrying on like he's the best. Every time he fucking carries on, I don't care how fucking good he is, I get sick of watching the carry on. So fuck that guy, especially because we lost.
For me, I'm gonna go I'm gonna head it down a similar line, but for a different team, and it's a guy that I watched run around yesterday for the Denver Nuggets. He calls himself Christian Brown. Your name is Braun. You're German. You are related to Hitler's wife. You fucking act like it. How is it that you can dunk on someone or do something else, point to your bench, give a stare down, and get teched? Did you spill your drink?
Not quite.
You can do something as basic as give a stare down after you dunk on someone's head and get a tech. But this guy can fucking bolt over to the Suns bench, get in everyone's face, yelling out "boom, motherfucker," and not get teed up for it. And then he's carry on. Look, he was great in overtime, and he hit that three and whatever, like wank, whatever, you're German.
There you go, our German listeners.
But it infuriated the fuck out of me. Like, seriously, mate. Firstly, pronounce your name properly. Stop trying to call yourself Brown. Brown's got a W in it, not a U. That's Braun. And number two, stop being a massive cock and bolting at an opposition team's bench. That is just, that shouldn't be on. That should have been a straight up automatic tech. To bolt towards someone's bench and swear and carry on at them, it's a straight up tech.
He should pronounce it Braun and ask for a trade to the Clippers.
Fuck that guy. Nate, any last comments? Anything else? Anything you'd like to do to wrap up, and where can we find you? Go for it.
No, I have absolutely zero additional comments to add. I don't even know if I've added anything of value to this entire pod, so thanks for letting me talk for 40 minutes. At Nicky's Falcon on the socials. And again, if you're ever wondering why that's Nicky's Falcon, it's got nothing to do with my name. Don't call me Nicky. It's just my favorite racehorse that is retired and actually probably dead by now.
Follow us at Aussie Suns Fans. Click the like button, click subscribe, click all that sort of stuff. We're off Spotify at the moment just because StreamYard's a fucking ripoff at the moment. So we'll probably get booted off this platform too by the end of this this pod. But which means I can't convert it to audio at the moment. So it's been a pleasure. Thanks to everyone except for Boyd for jumping into the chat. Boyd, appreciate the fact that you're part of the Aussie Suns Fans podcast and you just came in here and spoke shit the entire time instead of getting on the pod. You massive piece of shit. Again, just a reminder to our friends over there in the US, looking forward to getting over there for the Spurs game in April. I will be in Atlanta the week before, so if anyone's out that way, give us a shout out. We'll go grab a beer. But I'll be in Phoenix from the 10th to the 14th of April. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the beers. And when we get over there, the most important thing is when you're hanging out with me, we won't be there to fuck spiders.
Pierre Cardin.
Defers to Booker for the long range.
P-H-O-E-N-I-X. Phoenix Suns, and you know we up next. Yeah, we working for that championship ring. We the valley, it ain't nothing but a thing. P-H-O-E-N-I-X. Phoenix Suns, and you know we up next. Yeah, we working for that championship ring.